This is the 2024 NBA mock draft, which has been labeled one of the weakest draft classes of the century. One scout said this year's draft class is like drafting Tobias Harris first overall. The class is a collection of no-name college players and random foreign prospects. The biggest name entering the draft isn't even on any draft boards, and that would be LeBron James Jr., better known as Bronny James. Bronny was listed on every draft board before his freshman year at USC, but due to his health scare and very underperforming year, Bronny has fallen out of every single mock draft. Averaging less than 5 points a game, nearly 3 rebounds, and 2 assists with terrible shooting percentages from the field and from 3. Bronny did not just have a bad year at college, he had a terrible one, especially considering he came off the bench for one of the worst teams in the Power 5 last year. There are quite a few aspects of his game that needs to be improved, but his offense is where he needs the most work. Bronny has been touted a great playmaker for his age, but I think that's more because he chooses to pass on times where he should probably shoot or drive the basketball. This is a glaring issue in Bronny's game. YouTuber Pat Dorr did a great breakdown of how Bronny is too passive at times and how it hurts him on the offensive end. And here are some of the key takeaways that I took away. Right here, USC is running this out of bounds play to get Bronny an open look. But instead of shooting the ball, Bronny does not even look at the rim and he passes the ball. And this results in his teammates having to force up a bad contested floater that eventually gets blocked. Here's another play where Bronny's bringing the ball up the court, a perfect opportunity for him to go downhill and to make a play for himself. But instead, he dribbles horizontally, not even looking at the rim to attack, and does a dribble handoff. This one is alarming to me because this screams a lack of confidence in his offensive game. As someone who struggled with a lack of confidence in their shot early in their basketball career, I understand that dribble handoff that Bronny just did. That is the I don't want to shoot in fear of getting taken out the game, so I'm gonna just run the play correctly. But my lack of confidence and Bronny's lack of confidence comes from two different places. Being the son of the greatest basketball player to ever live, you have great expectations, and Bronny has even alluded to this in some of his combine interviews. Especially when your father has come out and said that he wants to play with you in the NBA.
What do you need to do in your career before you can hang it up?
I need to be on the floor with my boy. I gotta be on the floor with Bronny.
Bronny is number one on my fucking list.
Naturally, when we hear comments like this, and we know that Bronny's coming in with not the greatest college career, everyone wants to point to nepotism when it comes to Bronny James. But let me stop you right there. I do not believe that whether Bronny James gets drafted or not is due to nepotism. But don't just sit here and take my word for it. Let's hear what some NBA players and NBA scouts have to say about Bronny James.
I just don't think he's a college basketball player.
Nah,
he's a pro.
Yeah, I don't think his skill set is not meant for college. Like,
I see him on a fast break with his left hand, and he dribbled right at the free throw line, and then went left with and jumped and dunked the ball right. Once I seen that, I said, you could line up half the NBA and they can't do that. He's an NBA player.
Bronny 100% will be a successful player in the NBA. Number one, he knows how to work.
Something that interests me the most is that all these players keep saying that Bronny James does not have a college game. And it's a very known sentiment around the league that college basketball and NBA basketball is a completely different world. The college game involves a lot more structured plays, while the NBA game is a lot more free-flowing. That is why we've seen great scorers in college struggle to score in the NBA at the same clip. On the contrary, we've seen bad scorers in college become great scorers in the NBA. The example I like to point to is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine averaged less than 10 points a game in his sole year at UCLA. And in 2023, he averaged 24.8 points and 48% shooting. NBA and college scoring is vastly different. And with Bronny's weakest part of his game being his scoring, that actually might not hurt him at the next level. And I also want to put some more context about Bronny James' sole year at USC. Bronny had a cardiac arrest at 18 years old before the season even began, which left a lot of people wondering if he was even going to suit up for the entire year. He would end up playing, but would miss the first part of his season. And when he did return, it was under a minutes restriction at first. Bronny played in only 25 out of 41 games this year and did not get a full preseason to prepare. So it's safe to assume that his numbers would probably be better if he did not have that health scare earlier in the year. Now with that out the way, and we have the correct context around Bronny James' freshman year, let's talk about what Bronny does do on the court and what will translate over to the next level. That is defense. Bronny James was an elite defender in high school and carried that on to USC. Scouts have said that he has NBA ready defense right now. His insane athleticism, including a 40-inch vertical, and his very high basketball IQ, he's able to disrupt offensive players. Right here, we see Bronny's on-ball defensive ability. He fights over a ball screen and stays attached to his player. He does not bite on any of the quick pump fakes and stays on his feet. The offensive player is forced to reset and try to go again one-on-one with Bronny. He completely destroys this weak step-back move, which then leads to a flop and a great no call, and Bronny gets a highlight dunk. This play, Bronny shows his IQ. Taking a risk on defense at times can hurt you, but Bronny times this perfectly and gets a steal on the big man, which leads to a fast break layup. And of course, we have to see him doing his best impression of his dad with a chase down block. At worst, Bronny's ceiling is a 3-and-D player, which is one of the most coveted playstyles in the NBA right now. 3-and-D players are not superstars, but they're role players, which is what I think Bronny James will be. To a casual fan, they might look at that as a failure, but being a successful role player can lead to a great NBA career. This is what one Western Conference executive said about Bronny. He's going to be a real solid NBA player. He'll play in the league for 8 to 10 years. He's not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. I believe if Bronny could get in the right situation, he really can flourish in the NBA and make a great career.
You have to be a good role player because there's not many guys like LeBron. Most of the guys in the NBA, and you guys know way more than me, are role players. So you have to be really good at something.
This is great and all, but I hear what you guys are saying. He averaged less than 5 points in college. He's simply just not good enough to be drafted. And I thought the same way too. And then I started doing some digging and I realized that college stats do not matter as much as we think. So let me take you back to the 2020 NBA Draft when the Denver Nuggets drafted a UCLA forward by the name of Peyton Watson with the 30th pick in the first round. Check out his college stats. Peyton Watson played in 32 minutes at UCLA and came off the bench in every single game, which already means that starting doesn't matter. He averaged just 3.3 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 0.8 assists on 32% from the field. Now, are you telling me that's an NBA player, let alone a first round pick? Once again, maybe you're a casual fan and that means nothing to you. The Nuggets had a bad pick, whatever. Well, Peyton Watson is a regular rotation player on the Denver Nuggets who just won an NBA championship the past season. Watson has played in 80 games this year and started in 4 of them, averaging 18 minutes a game. And his numbers, 6.7 points, 3.2 rebounds, 1.1 assists on 46% shooting. He is playing good minutes for the defending champions Denver Nuggets. That is what a high value role player looks like in the NBA. So let's put his college numbers up against Bronny's numbers. And well, Bronny's numbers actually look better. But I can already see the comments, and I know what you guys think in your head. Peyton Watson is 6'7". Bronny James is 6'1". You can't really compare the two. Okay, I agree. Let's compare him to some players that are more his style. From Bronny's mouth himself, these are the guys that he felt like he compares to when it comes to the NBA.
Guys like Davion Mitchell, Drew Holiday, Derek White.
Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Davion Mitchell. 3 guards who, except for Derek White who's hooping this year, are not really known to be great offensive guys who pride themselves on the defensive end. Let's look at their college stats from their freshman year of college and compare them to Bronny James. Derek White averaged 16.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists his freshman year of college. Great numbers at a Division II. Drew Holiday averaged 8.5 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 3.7 assists a game and went on to get drafted into the NBA after just 1 season. And Davion Mitchell averaged 3.7 points, 1.1 rebounds, and 1.9 assists his freshman year. None of these guys were dominant their first year in college, although Mitchell and White did stay to play multiple years in college. Other than White, neither of these guys became great scorers in college either. All 3 of them have fostered a solid NBA career by excelling on the defensive end. Just because you couldn't score in a crowded, system-heavy offense in college doesn't mean that you can't score in a more free-flowing NBA-style offense. Remember that clip earlier I said where Bronny lacked confidence? If the same play happens in the NBA, I think Bronny, instead of going and running the play, actually attacks this guy because there's a lot more freedom in offensive play in the NBA. So I do believe that Bronny will actually become a better scorer in the NBA if he does eventually get drafted. And I'm not here to say that Bronny is going to be a for sure lock to make the NBA. Because honestly, I don't know. And if you read any of the reports, it sounds like no one knows. They're all over the place. Some people say he's NBA ready, and others say he shouldn't be in the NBA, he needs a year or two. I just want the conversation around Bronny James to be better. I want it to stop with, well, he's only getting looked at because he's LeBron James' kid. Bronny, honestly, is a good basketball player. No, he's not a star. No, he's not a first-round pick. But to say that he shouldn't get consideration for the second round, I think if his name wasn't Bronny James, he would still be in this draft, and we would still look at this kid as a potential G League player for a year, and then next year will probably be ready to make the NBA. Regardless, I don't think that the NBA teams are going to be drafting on getting Bronny James because you can potentially get LeBron James. I feel like that narrative has pretty much died down. I think teams will legitimately draft Bronny James because they believe Bronny James is a good enough player to make their team. Regardless of what happens in this upcoming draft, I just wish Bronny James the most luck, and I think everyone wants the kid to succeed. Honestly, I hope to see him get drafted in this draft this summer. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop me a like, have a beautiful day, and God bless.